Welcome to the Ricky Matthews Show, where we celebrate every single day the people who are working to make Mississippi such a great place to live, work, and play. Listen, reflecting a bit on the weird weather of late. Man, this is crazy. We go from a really mild winter to earlier this week having what essentially was a tropical storm during the winter. That incredible cold front that came through. And the piers underwater. My sister Mitzi, who lives over in Gulf Hills, had a really nice boat delivered to her yard. It was within 5 feet of her pier, and it would have definitely taken out a section of her pier had it hit. It turns out the people who own it, it's a nice boat with twin 300 Yamahas. We're out of town. I figured that maybe it was someone out of town who didn't get a chance to jack it up in the boat lift, and as a result, it just floated off the boat lift and caught the wind, and the rest is history. I think a few boats met that demise, and they'll be calling the salvagers to get it out. But it's it's a weird weather situation. Then we have cool air coming, really cool air coming. Some supposed to be in the 20s next week, which for me, I hate it because we had that really serious extended cold air last winter, and I was able to protect the hearts of my palm trees, my Queen Anne palm trees, and wondered for weeks and weeks whether they were damaged too severely. But eventually they came out, and they are absolutely beautiful now around my pool deck. And now here we go again. We're going to have to deal with some cold weather again. But we were almost through a winter without serious cold weather. It's just a strange time. It's a typical El Nino year. Now we're getting some more, getting rain and getting cold weather. It ought to sort of be that kind of trend through the spring. But hey, got one quote to share with you, and then we're going to go to our guest today, who is Chef Austin Sumrall from White Pillars. So here is I hit my there you go for the SuperTalk TV audience. I bumped a button and turned my camera out there for a second. But this is I was a big student of Steve Jobs. Still amazed that the smartphone wasn't introduced until 2007, and it just literally revolutionized the world. But anyone who knows Steve Jobs, he was driven to be innovative and excellent, and he was really hard to work for because he expected people to work nearly 24 hours a day. But he said this: be a yardstick of quality. Some people aren't used to an environment where excellence is expected. Be a yardstick of quality. Some people aren't used to an environment where excellence is expected. Steve Jobs. Well, he built a revolutionary company in Apple, that is for sure. And that commitment to excellence is still there today. Companies all over coastal Mississippi and throughout the state of Mississippi are constantly focused on customer satisfaction and bringing excellence to their customers. If you're in the restaurant business, excellence, my goodness, you got to deliver constantly. You can never drop your guard because, word of mouth will kill you quickly. You have to be focused on doing the best you can. And to be a restaurant owner and involved and a chef of a restaurant means that you have to have incredible passion for what you're doing. If you don't have it, you might as well not do it because you won't stand, as I often say, the test of time. There's one restaurant on the coast that has stood the test of time, and that is the White Pillars Restaurant and Lounge. And my friend Austin Sumrall is an owner and a chef there, and someone I really enjoyed checking in with recently. He was on national TV and national cooking competition. We'll be talking about that as well as we spend the whole hour with Austin. Without any further ado, let me welcome Austin Sumrall, Chef Austin Sumrall, back to the Ricky Matthews Show. How you doing, Austin?
I'm doing great, Ricky. It's awesome to be back on here. Love chatting with you.
Yeah, so you're sitting in this wonderful restaurant that you and your wife spent so much. I mean, you sweat some bullets to get this thing done. It's a special place, though. Just if you're just describing how unique and historic that place is, how do you talk to people about it?
Well, I've tried really hard to get this my elevator pitch down some so that I can get it out to people a little bit quicker. But it takes a second really to talk about all of the what goes into the restaurant and why we think it's so special. I think you start with the building itself. We took on a space that had been empty for almost 30 years, and it was also home to a restaurant that was immensely popular when it was around. So it was the White Pillars, the same name. It was open from 1969 to 1989, and it was something that was really special to the coast. And then this building itself was a home built in 1905, and it's just gorgeous. Neoclassical mansion that faces the beach, and so to kind of bring it back was a little bit of an undertaking, and it was came with some pressure involved as well to be something that was great. But I think that quote kind of is perfect for this, and I appreciate it. But that was what we wanted. We wanted something that was great. We wanted to strive for perfection, and I think that's kind of where we landed, and we've built a space in a restaurant that something that we can really be proud of and that our community can really be proud of.
How, Austin, when you're there, and I enjoy, my wife Ann and I enjoy eating there. When you're there, though, you get the sense that you didn't skip any steps in the renovation process. I mean, you don't get the sense that this is a project that's underway, that there's still some more phases to go. You went all in a big way, didn't you?
Absolutely. Now, so from my perspective, I feel like it's never done. We constantly change little things here and there that may not even be perceptible to our guests, but I'm a perfectionist to the core, and this is Tressie and I's baby. So we decided when we took the restaurant on that we wanted this to be what we saw as the perfect restaurant, the perfect space. And you're right. There's no detail overlooked and no stone unturned in the food and in the space. It's a very meticulously restored old building where we put a lot of finishes and touches in it that would make sense for the time that it was originally built. So there's things like sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead. Yeah.
Things like wallpaper that was custom made from a throw pillow of the same vintage as the original restaurant. I mean, the original home, and things like that. There's a bar that's actually older than the building itself that's in the lounge. So it's definitely become it was already a passion, but it's become even more so something that we really, really take a lot of care into what you get when you come in to the restaurant.
I'm kind of dating myself, but I think I remember telling you that in the late 70s, while I was actually it was mid 70s. When did the White Pillars initially open up?
So it was opened originally in 69 and then closed in 89.
Yeah. So I'm thinking it was my junior year of high school. I worked there, and I washed dishes and did a great job. I did such a good job of washing dishes that Miss Milandovich said, you can go be a busboy now. You can go clean the tables off. And I did that, and we would get splits of a small portion of the tips every night. We'd all get together with the waiters and we'd get our money at the end of the night, and thought that was cool the way they did it. I probably can tell this story now. I had my first beer at White Pillars. Miss Milandovich knew that I could get, I shouldn't be drinking it. She said, you can have one. And I tasted my first beer. To be honest with you, I didn't really like it. I didn't really like it.
I love that story.
But she enjoyed giving us that was her way of saying I know we shouldn't do this, but this is a restaurant, and back in those days it wasn't frowned on the way it might be frowned on today. But she was a nice woman to work for. That's what I remember.
Still is very nice. She comes in most Sundays and has brunch with us. So I saw her just a couple days ago, and she's still very, very matronly. Lots of people that worked at the restaurant all have great stories and wonderful things to say about her as a restaurateur. But also she's still holding it down I try to make sure that her food is extra perfect.
Well, that's great. That's great to hear that she's still rolling. It's interesting. I look back. What I remember about her is a beautiful smile and just a really good way with people. I mean, she just connected with people really nicely. And I don't think I was ever there, to be quite honest with you. I don't remember a time when I was there. I'm sure there was, but I don't remember a time when she wasn't there. I mean, she just, she was very passionate about the restaurant.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, hey, we're visiting with my friend, the chef of and owner of the White Pillars restaurant in Biloxi. When we get back, we're going to talk a little bit about how. Well, first, I want to know how the business is going. What's the latest in his innovation as he continues to sort of innovate food in coastal Mississippi. But he's been on some national TV shows, and he's been on Chops since the last time we talked. We're going to get an update about how that went, and he's got another one coming up, I guess. We'll see. We'll hear about that as well. We'll see you after this break. Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show. We're visiting with my friend here in the Citizens Bank studio, Chef Austin Sumrall, who actually grew up in Macomb, Mississippi, and has a great story about growing up and hunting and fishing and hiking and foraging and cooking with his family and all that goes with that. But, you got kind of hooked to cooking early in your life, and it's become your life, hasn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And talking about growing up, I grew up on a farm, spent a lot of time outdoors. I was Eagle Scout and grew up hunting and fishing. And I think that did have a big part in my life. It was always the rule on my family farm that if you killed it, you ate it. So I love wild game, still do a lot of stuff with wild game. And it just really gives you a unique perspective on food to see the work firsthand, see the work that really goes in behind the scenes before that food gets on your plate. And you were talking about earlier that cold weather next week. I know you said you were upset about it. I'm pretty excited. I got an opportunity to go duck hunting next weekend with my dad, and the weather is supposed to be really nice. And so hopefully we get some ducks.
Hey, listen, this is a little bit of a diversion, but I have SuperTalk Outdoors on Mondays. And so this past Monday was dedicated to ducks. Had the guy who's head of the duck program from Mississippi, Houston Havens, join me, and we kind of got an update on the situation there. And then another guy named Ramsey Russell, who is he leads a company called GetDucks.com, and they arrange duck hunting trips for people all over the world. He's been to Australia a couple of times recently, and we talked about the Mississippi Flyway, where our ducks come from, from Canada and North Dakota and those areas of North America. And what pushes them down is cold weather. He said it was 54 degrees on Christmas Day in Alberta, Canada. Think about that for a second.
Yeah, not good.
But it's not just the cold weather. It's, you need snow on the ground. So snow on the ground combined with cold weather pushes the ducks down the flyway. And but anyway, I have at least 3 separate farms up in the Mississippi Delta. 3 of my friends own a piece of property adjacent to one of the farms that I lease that has really good duck hunting. And my son Jordan and my friend Terry and friend Travis had a hunt this past Saturday, and it was literally epic. I mean, they limited in like 8 minutes. And then they watched hundreds of ducks land, both wood ducks and gadwalls land and work into the decoys. They said it was just absolutely unbelievable. Of course, with the kind of duck season we're having, you don't expect that, and they had it. And my friend Mark Creech, who loves to cook duck, he said he'll take wood ducks all day long. He just loves the nutty flavor of wood ducks. Do you have a preference?
On which type of duck? I guess not. I mean, your typical mallard, you have a lot more to work with, and you can even do some confit on the legs and stuff like that. Some of the smaller ducks, there's not a whole lot of meat on there, but I think they're all delicious in their own way.
Yeah, they've had some really good hunts. They've widgeon and blue and green winged teal. and of course the gadwall that I mentioned a minute ago, and lots of wood ducks. But they've had some really good hunts. So it's fun when you don't expect the hunts to be great because the weather has not, cooperated. It's fun to go out and have a great hunt. That's kind of where they've been. They also had a couple of really good goose hunts, man, when catching snow and blue geese. That's a lot of fun. So, you've cooked geese, I'm sure, many times, huh?
Well, I wouldn't say many times, but I have done it. So there's one cool law in Mississippi that you can bring in wild game or fish that you caught or killed yourself, and I can prepare it. So I got to do some speckled geese not too long ago for a guest that came in. That was really fun and delicious.
What, filet mignon? That's what it takes. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
So I can only imagine what it looks like when you prepare it. But what I love about that core of understanding that's sustenance, hunting, that you like to hunt for the purpose of cooking some amazing meals, and what you learn from your family and what you learn from your own experience. You've worked in many restaurants. You ultimately went to an institute in I think the Culinary Institute of America in Hyde Park, New York. To bring sort of that beginning where you got connected with, the landscape that makes Mississippi so special. I call it the capital of the outdoors in America. To bring that foundation with you throughout your cooking experience, that's been a real advantage for you, hasn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. It's like I said before, I think it gives me a unique vantage point to as my approach to food, and it's really like a reverence for the ingredients, and it's not just the proteins. I get it all the way down to the vegetables and everything too. I grew up with what I think a lot of people would call a victory garden in the backyard, and worked with my mom and growing vegetables, and we love to eat what we grow and the hard work that goes into that. But also, man, it just tastes so much better when it's fresh, when it goes to your table. So it's it's something that I'm very, very passionate about.
Well, that's why you have to be passionate about it. This whole notion of farm to table, where the relationship you have with people who bring your vegetables and your tomatoes and your shrimp and your tuna, whatever it is you're cooking. That whole notion of knowing where your sources, knowing your sources, and having confidence that it's fresh and amazing. That's what makes a great restaurant tick, isn't it?
It is, and I think you hit the nail right on the head. What we like to say is it's very important to know where your food comes from. Everyone should know where their food comes from, not just chefs. But we take it one step farther, and we know who our food comes from, and we know them well. It was one of the first things that my wife and I did when we moved to the coast and started working on opening the restaurant. Was we hit the farmers markets really hard and started making those relationships. And it's not just vegetables. We have fishermen that call us when they're still on the boat with what they have caught, and we know how fresh it is. We have very good relationships with our oyster farmers that can tell us the exact salinity of the oysters when they're harvested. And then, with our bigger farmers that have more variety, they can tell us what's coming up. They know what's really good right now. They know it's about to go out of season. And it makes my job easier. Now, the hard part is that we order from 25 different farms at any given time. So that's a lot to work on. But it also gives us the advantage that we're starting with the best possible ingredients, which from a cooking standpoint makes it a lot easier.
Well, and it creates, I'll tell you what's interesting, as you discuss with the people who are providing the various ingredients that you're cooking, it forces you actually to make decisions about the menu, about, okay, what am I going to do now? And sometimes it may be when you do sort of a lay of the land on the ingredients are they can be, I bet they can be so many different gyrations. It's unbelievable. And you probably think in the moment, you know what, I might try to put this with that and try something different this time. But you do that a lot, don't you?
We do. So I typically change the menu at least in some way every day. And that's not meaning like whole dishes and concepts, but there's always, something we want to add on, some ingredient that we want to highlight that we'd like to see on the menu, or something that maybe is going away. Same thing with the fish. We take in whatever's the most fresh and the best. And so those all kind of change and tweak a little bit, even as the week goes along. And to me, that gives us, advantage in that, we know for sure what we're putting on the plate is the most in season and the freshest that it can be. And I typically have like a menu that I kind of keep an idea of the direction that we're going to go, as far as what's coming in. So like right now, citrus, which is not something that probably a lot of people think about in where we live and this time of year, but this time of year is the correct time of year for citrus. We actually have 6 different citrus trees that are on our property here, that my mom started growing when I was a little kid, and we moved them here, and we gather citrus off of those, but also in our subtropical climate here, we get all these great citrus, not just satsumas, but caracara oranges, tangerines, quats, and all kinds of other stuff. So we're going to do a dish this week that'll highlight that citrus. And to me, the cool thing is that we're in like the dead of winter, and you get this just like vibrant, bright food that you don't typically think of when you think of wintertime. And it's exciting. It's something that gets me up and going in the morning.
I love that. So again, you have to have a passion for it, and that passion is what drives that innovation and that opportunity based on what's available to you. Citrus being a great example, and highlighting that on your menu. One of the things I like to look at is when you guys are posting on your Facebook page. You'll be, everyone has seen these moments in the sort of reality TV chef programs on TV. But where you're standing behind the plate and you're kind of finalizing the garnish, and there may be a pile of maybe a fish or maybe a steak with some sauteed shrimp on top of it, and you've built this kind of like this masterpiece, and that one's ready to go, and you're passing that one on, and then you're doing another one. But the attention that you're paying to that is very impressive, and you can tell that you love doing it, and that makes a real big difference. And by the way, all these things feed into why you're able to perform good on a show like Chops. When we come back, we're going to talk about that. We'll see you with my friend, the chef of White Pillars Restaurant, Chef Austin Sumrall. We'll see you after this. Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank Studio. I have my friend Austin Sumrall. He's the chef and owner of White Pillars Restaurant and Lounge in Biloxi. And it's got that restaurant has so much history here in coastal Mississippi. It's fun watching Austin because this whole notion of, farm to table, and I think you mentioned 25 some odd sources where your food is coming from. I can't even imagine managing that on a daily basis when you're dealing with fresh food and having to decide menu items and all that. It's got to be a challenge, but also fun, especially if you have a passion for it, like you and I were just talking about. But when you have to do all these gyrations as a restaurant owner, it does prepare you well, mostly, doesn't it, for shows like Chops? I mean, you go into that, you got to let your personality show. You got producers that are trying to intermingle you guys, so there's conflict, and they want conflict. They want exacerbation so that people continue to watch. But Chops wasn't your first show. You can remind people what you did leading up to that, but Chops was a good one, and you did well on it. I watched it closely and was very proud of you.
Well, I appreciate that, Ricky. So, I actually technically filmed Chopped first, and then Alex versus America second, but they came out the other way around. So obviously I was more excited about the outcome in Alex versus America, but Chopped really was fun, and I kind of sparked my love for competition as far as cooking goes. And I think that comes from, I did a lot of team sports and stuff like that growing up, and I kind of thought I was out of that competitive mindset in my life, and I found a way back in, and it's been really fulfilling. It's something that I super enjoy. But you're right. We change the menu all the time. You have to make split-second decisions in the restaurant, and I think all of that prepares you for when you open a basket and you don't know what you're about to cook.
Hey, what's interesting about chops? Okay, so in particular, and I was aware that you had done that one first. It aired second of the shows that you did. You got another one you're about to go do here soon. We'll hopefully learn more about that before we get done with the show. But for it to be your first, and I'm way aware of that, well aware of that. Man, you did a good job. You did a good job not coming across nervous. You let your personality show. Really, I think you could have won the whole darn thing, man. You had one little slip up. Other than that, I mean, everybody has a slip up or something that didn't go quite as planned. But man, for the most part, you knocked it out of the park. You had to feel good about that.
I did, and even going into that last round, or when we were up there with the judges and about to find out who won or not, I still felt pretty good. It was definitely it's difficult, and I was going up against some really stiff competition. The girl that beat me went on to get second in the Top Chef All Stars later that year, so she ain't no slouch. But we're still good friends, and it was fun to compete against somebody that was that good. But yes, it's try not to let your nerves get to you. It just got so much adrenaline going, and it goes by so quick that it's kind of hard to remember tidbits of it. But there are a few moments that I can remember clear as day. Like my first round, one of the ingredients was shrimp. And I'm sitting there thinking, if I mess these shrimp up, I don't know that I can go back to Biloxi. And of course, they were not peeled, nice, big, beautiful Gulf shrimp. And I'm sitting up there peeling them with 20 minutes. That's what you have in the first round. And my hands were shaking. And I remember I paused, took a deep breath, and thought to myself, if I can't get the shrimp peeled, there's nothing I can do. So focus. Get my hands quit shaking and get through the shrimp. And I think that was probably one of my best rounds as far as the competition goes. When I saw the shrimp, obviously I was excited, but at the same time, like, man, if I mess this up, if I overcook them or if I undercook them or something like that, I can't go home.
Hey, so remind for people who didn't see it, and I don't remember the exact dish that you cooked from watching it myself. What was it that you did? I mean, because I do remember. Man, I can't mess this up. I mean, this is.
I think I even said it in the show. So it was it's tough for me to remember too. So there's 4 ingredients. It was shrimp. Maybe it's just 3 ingredients. There's shrimp. There's a succulent that's found wild growing on our beaches called sea beans. That was one of the things that was on there, and then powdered red eye gravy mix. And there might have been one other thing, but I can't remember what it was. But yeah, so honestly, none of those really kind of threw me for a loop. I'd actually worked with the sea beans and stuff before, and you really can. I'm looking out over the water right now. I think we're probably a little too cold for it at the moment, but you could go out there right now and find it, which is pretty cool. And so that was like one of those things where I was like, okay, shrimp, got it. Sea beans, got it. And then the gravy, you just try to figure out how to make it not taste gross.
But they loved it.
They did. That was well received for sure. Oh, it was the last one was like an already cooked, essentially like cornbread. I think it was corn cake technically, but so I had to kind of rework that.
So tell me about the beignet.
Yeah, that was so my thought process was, they really wanted, stuff. You had to be able to tell a story about it. It needed to speak to you as a person and as a chef, which makes sense. That coming from that angle, you get a lot more passion in your food. So I spent a lot of my time in New Orleans. Beignets felt like the right move. I've never made them before though, so I don't know that was necessarily the right thing. But so I went for it. I couldn't quite. I was having trouble getting my dough consistency right. It was a little too loose, so I kept trying to fry it and going back and adding more flour. And I eventually did get it to come together, but it was my timing at that point it was a little off. So I think they came out a little greasy was the main complaint from the judges. But the crazy part from a show standpoint was that fryer is right next to the judges table. And I could hear them over my shoulder. Oh no, his beignets aren't working.
Oh no!
Really, really stressful. And you get a certain amount into it. I think you have 30 minutes in that round, where there's no really turning back. I didn't have enough time to completely change what I was going to do, so I had to try to figure out how to make it work. My competitor went a little easier on her approach, and that it turned out to be for the best. But you never know. I'm not one to half-ass anything, so that wasn't an option for me.
Well, a quote that I shared on the show the other day. It's a quote that I'm going to share tomorrow, but it says, "Avoiding danger is no safer in the long run than outright exposure. The fearful are caught as often as the bold." That was Helen Keller. But I mean, you got to take risks, man. Come on, you got to. If you cannot innovate if you're not willing to take risks. I mean, that's just the bottom line. So even though you may not have made a beignet before, you had enough cooking experience to know that you could get it, And if you'd have had a little bit more time, you'd have nailed it.
I agree. Just a little bit.
Well, hey, when I was a kid, the way we made beignets, we would take, we would pop open some biscuits and we would shape in them a certain, way, and then we would just put them in grease. And then we would put some powdered, sugar on top of them, and we loved
Probably
them.
what I should have done.
And we loved them. That was the way it is. But man, when you're in a competition, like you said, I get it. I feel that way when I was a publisher and would do an interview for a major network, like after Hurricane Katrina or something like that. It would go by so fast, I would forget what I even said or what the question was, because you're so in the moment, you're so wanting so badly to represent yourself well and your community well that everything else just gets blocked out, even to some extent your memory. It's just it's part of the I guess the adrenaline flow that's taking place. But you didn't come across nervous. You came across calm. And what's important about a show like that is that you got to cook well, but you also got to impress the judges with your personality. They want to know that there's a person there, and they want to connect with that. And I think you did really well doing that.
Well, I agree that is definitely what they're looking for, and that it went as well as it could have. That's not something that you can necessarily prepare for. And they want you to talk about what you're doing in the middle of when you're doing it under really, really crazy time constraints. I think that's probably the question that I get the most. Is it true to how they portray it? And it is 100%.
Well, that's interesting.
Don't know beforehand. So trying to talk about the middle of it's tough.
This is Chef Austin Sumrall from the White Pillars Restaurant and Lounge in Biloxi, someone I've really enjoyed checking in with really for the entire duration of the show over 3 years. He and I have been kind of checking in with each other. Hey, when we come back, I'm actually curious what happens when a show like that's done. Does the phone ring? Do people get interested in you? What's the national footprint of someone like Austin Sumrall? We'll see you when we get back from break. Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show. I'm my friend Austin Sumrall with us. And, Austin, I think about you when we're up at the camp. Like this past weekend, we had Dove spaghetti that my friend made. So, he cut up some Dove and sauteed it and put it in spaghetti and had, all our team together to enjoy it. And, for breakfast, we always cooked venison sausage, and we'll have some link smoked sausage with it. And, there's probably so much more we could do with the venison. We've only just begun to scratch the surface, but it's a lot of fun. Hey, listen, I'm curious, when you get done with a show like Chop, does it make your phone ring? Do people get interested in you? What's the story there?
Yeah, for sure. So, I got to do a lot of local news and media and stuff like that. Get to talk to you. But also I think what's good for us and for the restaurant is that I get opportunities to do more shows. So when I did Chopped, Alex Bornicelli was one of my judges, and then afterwards she invited me to do her show, and then after that, one of the judges from her show was a Top Chef winner, and I got invited to apply for that. I didn't quite make it on there; it was very close, but we'll see maybe next year. And then the same thing, you get calls from Food Network and things like that, and as long as it goes pretty well, so that's about as much as I can say about what is coming up. I am going to be filming next week for another Food Network show. I can't really say much more.
Wow, that's exciting, man. Congratulations. I don't know how you find the time to do it. It's got to be overwhelming at times to do the things you do, but the notoriety certainly helps your business. And the other thing about it is it puts you in touch with a lot of very creative chefs that you can learn from. I mean, it's just, and like you pointed out, you have these relationships that you still carry with you today. And what influence is that going to have on your ability to be even a better chef in the future? It's got to be gigantic. You have other news though. What's your other news?
So yes, we, my wife and I, and Sumrall Restaurant Group are about to open a new restaurant in downtown Gulfport. There's a lot of rumors going around about it and things like that. So I figured today might be a good day to go ahead and say that yes, that is happening. It's going to be called the Siren Social Club. It is a much smaller restaurant than White Pillars, but we're very excited about it. We still ironing out a lot of details, but it's going to be in a boutique hotel that we're also a part of, and it's going to be just really, really cool. And it's something that we're very, very excited about. It's always in our life plan and our goals to expand and to give more outlets to our community in the Gulf Coast and just give more people an opportunity to enjoy what we're passionate about.
Hey, say the name again. It had kind of a little bit of static when you said the name.
It's going to be called the Siren Social Club.
Siren Social Club. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, so what's your specialty?
It's going to be seafood focused, European continental cuisine. And that's about all we've got worked out right now.
Hey, but you know what I love about it? I mean, downtown Gulfport is really focused. You got some great developments that are on tap to bring people downtown, more people living downtown. People want to live, work, and play in a similar area. You see that in downtown Biloxi in a big way. You see it happening in Ocean Springs. And Pascagoula, there's a renaissance happening in downtown Pascagoula as we speak. You know what's happening in places like bedroom communities like Pass Christian, but Bay St. Louis, Lord have mercy, look what's happening in downtown Bay St. Louis. So Gulfport's right there with them, and it's exciting to see so many people being brought back. The boutique hotels, mixed use where you have commercial and residential sort of coexisting. That's the future, and you guys are riding that tide, and I don't blame you for investing in downtown Gulfport.
Yes, we're very excited. It's going to be really cool. And I agree. I think there's a resurgence in downtown Gulfport. There's a lot going on, and we're very happy about that. We're a big proponent of that rising tides raise all ships. So we want to see our community change for the better, and sometimes you just have to be part of that change.
Listen, I think that Hurricane Katrina introduced coastal Mississippi to some of the best architects and planners in the world. Andre Estuani, the father of New Urbanism, actually led the charrettes that we had as part of the Governor's Commission on Recovery, Rebuilding, and Renewal right after Hurricane Katrina. And this notion of walkable communities and mixed use is part of the conversation we were having then. And it's evolving now. It's evolving in a big way. I think that when people think about Mississippi, we don't get enough credit for the work that we're doing. And coastal Mississippi can be a really significant best practice to the rest of the state about how to attract more young people to live here. A lot of people, young people, they have to leave here to pursue their career. They like the big city life. They like the live, work, play thing in a big way. And we're producing that vision here in coastal Mississippi, and hopefully other cities across the state of Mississippi will sort of take our lead on that and make Mississippi sort of really innovative when it comes to stopping the brain drain that's happening. So thank you for investing in a big way to be a part of that anyway. Hey, Chef Austin Sumrall, it's been a pleasure to spend some time with you today, my friend.
Same. Absolutely, Ricky. Yeah. I enjoy it every time.
Yeah, my wife Ann and I will be there soon. As I mentioned, my kids bought us a gift certificate, and we're going to come have dinner with you soon, and look forward to seeing you guys. Take care, and listen, have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow.
You too.